The crystal continued to pulse with its deep red light. More council members were gathering around it now, drawn by curiosity and growing concern. They whispered among themselves in dozens of languages that the translation system struggled to process. A tall, thin being with silver skin approached. This was Diplomat Ral of the Trade Federation. His species was known for being practical and focused on economics rather than warfare. "I still do not understand why this matters," Ral said. "Yes, humans have fought among themselves. Many species do in their early development. But you eventually achieved peace and unified your world. Why should we care about your violent past when you have clearly moved beyond it?" Jiho had been waiting for this question. "Because our past explains our present," he said. "And more importantly, it explains our future." "Explain," Chancellor Vexthar said. The crystalline being had fully recovered now and was listening with intense focus. Jiho gestured to the crystal. "Every weapon system Earth created was designed to fight other humans. We have never encountered an external threat. We have never fought aliens or monsters or natural disasters that could destroy our civilization. Every threat we faced came from ourselves. And that means something important." "What does it mean?" Suji asked. Her energy form had returned to its normal purple color. Colonel Yuna answered. "It means we understand warfare in ways that perhaps no other species does. When your people fought external enemies, you could hate them without guilt. They were different from you. They were the other. But when humans fight, we are always fighting ourselves. We are fighting people who could have been our friends, our neighbors, our family." She paused, letting that sink in. Every human soldier who killed an enemy in battle was killing another human. Another person with hopes and dreams and loved ones. We could not pretend our enemies were monsters. We knew they were just like us. And we fought them anyway when we believed we had to. "That sounds like it would make war impossible," Ral said. "If you understand your enemy is just like you, how can you fight them?" "It makes war harder," Yuna agreed. "But not impossible. And when we do fight, we fight with a ferocity born from desperation, because we know exactly what we are losing. We know exactly what we are destroying. We are not fighting monsters. We are fighting ourselves." War Premier Thakan moved closer to the crystal. He did not touch it again, but he stared at it as if he could see the memories swirling inside. "You said you developed rules for warfare." "The Geneva Conventions." "Explain this." Dr. Minho pulled up a holographic display. "The Geneva Conventions are a series of treaties that establish rules for armed conflict. They define how soldiers must treat prisoners of war. They protect civilians and medical personnel. They ban certain weapons and tactics that cause unnecessary suffering." "You created laws for war?" a council member from the Hive Network asked. "That seems contradictory." "It does," Minho agreed. "But we needed them. We fought so often and so intensely that we had to establish guidelines to prevent war from becoming total annihilation. We learned to limit ourselves even in the midst of conflict." He changed the display to show different examples. "We banned chemical weapons after World War I because they were too horrible. We banned biological weapons because they could not be controlled. We established rules about targeting civilians because we recognized that even in war, some things should be protected." "Did everyone follow these rules?" Vexthar asked. "No," Jiho admitted. "Many nations violated the conventions. War crimes were committed. But the fact that we called them crimes matters. The fact that we tried to hold people accountable matters. It shows that even in our darkest moments we tried to maintain some humanity." The crystal's display changed. Now it was showing human special forces operations, silent infiltrations, precision strikes, asymmetric warfare where small groups of highly trained soldiers accomplished missions that would have required armies in earlier eras. "Your capacity for violence has become more efficient," the Khan observed. There was something like respect in his voice now. "Yes," Yuna said. "As our technology advanced, we learned to be more precise. We developed special operations forces that could wage war with minimal collateral damage. We created intelligence networks that could prevent conflicts before they started. We learned that sometimes the threat of violence is more powerful than violence itself." A small, furry creature from the merchant clan spoke up. "I am trying to understand the practical implications. You are telling us that humanity has extensive experience with warfare, but so do many council species. The Crimson Pact has conquered half their galaxy. The Crystal Imperium has fought wars lasting millions of years. What makes human experience unique?" Jiho looked at the creature. "The difference is that our wars were civil wars. Every conflict was internal. We were not expanding into new territory or fighting over resources we both wanted. We were fighting ourselves because we disagreed about how to live, what to believe, how to organize our societies. He walked slowly around the crystal as he spoke. The Crimson Pact fought for conquest. The Crystal Imperium fought for survival. But humans fought over ideas, over religions and political systems and economic theories. We went to war because we could not agree on how to be human. That seems incredibly wasteful, Ral said. It was, Jiho agreed, but it also meant that we had to learn how to make peace. When you fight an external enemy, peace comes from victory or defeat. But when you fight yourself, victory just means you have defeated part of your own species. Peace can only come from compromise and understanding. He stopped walking and faced the council. That is what makes us valuable. Not our weapons or our tactics or our military strength, though we have all of those things. What makes us valuable is that we understand how to end wars as well as how to fight them. We understand that the goal of conflict is not destruction, but resolution. The chamber was quiet. Jiho could see that his words were having an effect, but he was not sure if it was enough. The council members were alien beings with alien minds. They might not understand what he was trying to explain. Then Ambassador Suji spoke. I think I begin to understand, she said. My people are pacifists. We have been for millions of years. We look at species like the Crimson Pact and we cannot comprehend them. How can anyone choose violence? How can war ever be justified? She floated closer to Jiho. But humans are different. You have known both war and peace. You have experienced both violence and compassion. You understand both sides because you have lived both sides. You are the bridge between warriors and pacifists. Perhaps, Jiho said carefully. Show us more, Vexthar commanded suddenly. The crystal has revealed much, but you said it contains theoretical weapons as well. I wish to see what humanity has imagined but not built. Minho looked uncertain. Chancellor, some of this material is quite disturbing. These are weapons designed for maximum destruction. Show us, Vexthar repeated. Minho sighed and adjusted the crystal again. The display changed to show schematics and theoretical models, biological weapons that could target specific genetic markers, nanoplagues that could disassemble matter at the molecular level, AI systems that could wage autonomous warfare without human oversight. There were gasps from around the chamber. Even species that had fought for millions of years looked shocked at what they were seeing. These weapons could destroy entire species, someone said. Yes, Yuna confirmed. We designed them during our most paranoid periods. During the Cold War, both major powers developed contingency plans for every possible scenario. We imagined every possible threat and created weapons to counter them. Most of these weapons were never built. Those that were built were never used. Why not? Thakan asked. Because we were afraid, Jiho said simply. We understood what these weapons could do. We understood that using them would make us monsters. So we chose not to. He looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching him. That is the final lesson of the crystal. Humanity has imagined almost every possible way to destroy itself. We have the knowledge to create weapons of unimaginable power, and we have chosen restraint. Not because we are weak, but because we are wise enough to be afraid of our own power. The crystal's light began to dim. The presentation was coming to an end. Minho stepped forward and closed the containment field. The metal case sealed itself with a soft click. That is our history, Jiho said. That is what we are offering to the Galactic Council. Not just our ships or our technology or our resources. We are offering our experience, our understanding of conflict and peace, our knowledge of how to walk the line between strength and restraint. The chamber remained silent. The council members looked at each other, and Jiho knew they were communicating in ways he could not perceive. They were discussing what they had seen, debating what it meant, trying to decide if humanity was an asset or a threat. Finally, Chancellor Vexthar spoke. We will need time to discuss this. The Council will reconvene in one cycle to vote on humanity's application. We understand, Jiho said. He bowed respectfully and his team did the same. They turned to leave, carrying the crystal with them. As they walked out of the chamber, Hana whispered to Jiho. Do you think it worked? We will know soon, Jiho replied. But at least now they understand who we really are. War Premier Thakan moved down from his seat. His heavy footsteps echoed through the silent chamber. He approached the crystal slowly, like a warrior approaching an unknown enemy. I wish to see, he said. I have fought in wars that consumed star systems. I have commanded fleets of billions. I have seen planets die. Your human conflicts cannot be worse than what I have experienced. Colonel Yuna looked at him with steady eyes. The crystal does not judge, she said. It only shows. If you wish to interface, you may, but I recommend starting from the beginning, as Chancellor Vexthar did. The early conflicts provide context for what comes later. The Khan made a sound that might have been laughter. I do not need context. Show me your worst. Show me your World War II. That was your largest conflict, yes? Minho hesitated. War Premier, I really think— Show me, the Khan demanded. Minho sighed and adjusted the crystal settings. The red glow shifted slightly, becoming darker. The Khan reached out and touched the interface. What happened next would be discussed in the Galactic Council for generations. The Khan's entire body went rigid. His red armor began to glow with heat. The air around him shimmered. Those council members closest to him quickly moved away. The War Premier was experiencing World War II, and his warrior's mind was processing what that meant. He was in the sky above Dresden, watching fire consume a city. He was on the beaches of Normandy, wading through water turned red with blood while bullets tore through the air like rain. He was in Stalingrad fighting house to house, room to room, in a battle that lasted for months and killed nearly 2 million people. He was at Hiroshima. The Khan screamed. It was a sound of pure shock and horror. He tore himself away from the crystal and fell to his knees. His 6 arms wrapped around his body as if trying to hold himself together. The chamber erupted again. This time the noise was not just concern. It was fear. If a war premier, a being who had spent centuries in combat, could be broken by human memories, what did that mean? Chancellor Vexthar had recovered enough to speak. What did you show him? He demanded. World War II, Yuna said calmly. A conflict that lasted 6 years and killed approximately 80 million people. It was fought across multiple continents and involved most of the nations on Earth. 80 million, someone whispered. In 6 years? The war ended when we used nuclear weapons, Minho added. We split the atom and turned that power into bombs. We dropped 2 of them on cities. Each bomb killed tens of thousands of people instantly. Hundreds of thousands more died later from radiation. A council member from the Silicon Confederacy processed this information. You developed weapons of mass destruction and used them on yourselves? Yes, Jiho said. And that was not even our most dangerous moment. The Khan slowly got back to his feet. His armor had stopped glowing, but he looked shaken in a way that Jiho suspected was rare for him. The War Premier looked at the human delegation with new eyes. The atomic fire, he said quietly. I have seen planet killers deployed. I have watched worlds burn. But to use such weapons on your own species, on your own cities— He trailed off, unable to finish the thought. May I? A new voice spoke up. This came from Ambassador Suji of the Peaceful Collective. She floated forward, her purple energy form pulsing with curiosity. My species evolved beyond violence 3 million years ago. We do not understand war. We never have. Perhaps that is why we need to see this more than anyone. Minho looked worried. Ambassador, your species has no experience with violence. This could be traumatic for you. Which is precisely why I must see it, Suji said. If I am to vote on humanity's admission to the Council, I must understand what you truly are. She interfaced with the crystal before anyone could stop her. Jiho watched her carefully. He knew what she was seeing now. The crystal was showing her the progression of human warfare through the ages. Not just the big conflicts, but the small ones too. The constant, grinding violence that had marked human history like a heartbeat. Suji began to pulse rapidly, her colors shifting and changing. But she did not pull away. She watched the entire sequence that Vexthar had experienced and then kept going. She saw World War I with its trenches and poison gas. She saw World War II with its atomic fire. She saw Korea and Vietnam and the countless smaller conflicts that followed. And then the crystal showed her something else. It showed her the Cold War. This was Jiho's idea. He had insisted that this part be included in the crystal, even though no major battles were fought during this period, because the Cold War was not about battles. It was about the threat of them. Suji saw the missile silos hidden across continents. She saw the submarines lurking deep in the oceans, each one carrying enough nuclear weapons to destroy multiple cities. She saw the bombs themselves, thousands upon thousands of them, enough to turn Earth into a lifeless rock dozens of times over. and she saw that humanity had lived with this threat for decades. Children grew up knowing that nuclear war could start at any moment. People built fallout shelters in their basements. They practiced drills in schools, teaching kids to hide under desks as if that would save them from atomic fire. But the war never came. Humanity stood at the edge of self-destruction and chose to step back. When Suji finally disconnected, she was quiet for a long moment. Her energy form had turned a deep purple, almost black. "You built enough weapons to destroy yourselves completely," she said, "and then you chose not to use them." "Yes," Jiho said. "Why?" It was such a simple question, but Jiho knew it was the most important one. This was the moment everything depended on. "Because we learned," he said. "We learned that war has a cost. We learned that violence, even when necessary, is a tragedy. We learned that survival means more than just defeating enemies. It means choosing peace even when war is possible." He gestured to the crystal. "This device contains memories of 10,000 years of human warfare. But it also contains something else. It contains the wisdom we gained from that warfare. Every conflict taught us something. Every death reminded us of what we could lose. And eventually we learned enough to change." "You still have militaries," the Khan said. He had recovered from his shock and was watching the humans with intense focus. "You still prepare for war?" "Yes," Colonel Yuna agreed. "We have a saying on Earth, if you want peace, prepare for war. We maintain our military strength because we understand that the galaxy can be dangerous. But we do not seek conflict. We seek to prevent it. By being strong enough that others will not attack you," Vexthar said. There was understanding in his voice now. "Exactly," Jiho said. A small creature with multiple eyes spoke up from one of the upper seats. "But the crystal has only shown a fraction of your history. What else is contained in those memories?" Dr. Minho stepped forward. "Everything," he said. "Ancient warfare with swords and spears. Medieval sieges that lasted years. The development of gunpowder and cannons. The industrial age when war became mechanized. The information age when cyber warfare became possible. And theoretical weapons we designed but never fully deployed." "Theoretical weapons?" someone asked. Yuna nodded. "Biological weapons that could target specific genetic markers. Nanomachines that could consume entire cities. AI-driven autonomous weapons that could wage war without human control. Kinetic bombardment systems that could drop tungsten rods from orbit with the force of nuclear weapons. We designed all of these things. We understood how to build them. And we chose not to." The chamber was silent again. The council members were processing this information, and Jiho could see the calculations happening behind their eyes. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not naive. Humanity was something far more dangerous. A species that understood violence completely and had chosen to restrain it. "The crystal contains more than just battle sequences," Minho continued. "It also contains human military doctrine and philosophy. Sun Tzu's Art of War, written 2,500 years ago. Clausewitz's theories on warfare as politics by other means. Millennia of accumulated knowledge about strategy, tactics, logistics, and psychology of conflict." "You studied war as an art form," the Khan said. "Yes," Yuna confirmed. "Every human military academy teaches history. We analyze our past conflicts to understand them. We learn from our mistakes. We honor our warriors while acknowledging the tragedy of their sacrifice." Jiho could see that the council was beginning to understand. They had judged humanity based on surface data, on simple casualty counts and battle statistics. They had not understood the depth of human experience with warfare. They had not realized that a species could fight only itself for 10,000 years and survive. Now they knew, and now they had to decide what to do with that knowledge. 3 weeks passed quickly. During that time, Jiho barely slept. He worked with Dr. Minho and Colonel Yuna to prepare everything perfectly. There could be no mistakes. The artifact had to work exactly as planned, or this would all be for nothing. Now Jiho stood once again in the council chamber. But this time, he was not alone. Dr. Minho stood to his left, a thin man with tired eyes and careful hands. To his right stood Colonel Yuna, straight-backed in her military uniform. And between them, floating in a portable containment field, was the artifact. It did not look impressive. It was just a metal case about 1 meter long and half a meter wide. The surface was weathered and marked with symbols that had faded with time. On the top, in several Earth languages, were the words, "Time Capsule, Humanity's Wars, 3000 BCE to 2XX CE. Chancellor Vexthar looked down at the artifact with what might have been disappointment. "This is your gift to the Council archives?" he asked. "A historical record?" "Not exactly," Dr. Minho said. He spoke softly, but his voice carried clearly through the chamber. "This is a neural interface memory crystal. It is one of our newest technologies. We developed it only 20 years ago. A memory storage device," Vexthar said. "We have such things. They are common throughout the galaxy." "Yes," Minho agreed. "But this one is different. It does not just store information. It stores experience. When someone interfaces with this crystal, they do not see history. They live it. They feel it. For a few moments, they become part of the events recorded inside." This caused some interest in the chamber. Several council members leaned forward in their seats. The technology was not unique, but it was unusual for such a young species to have developed it. War Premier Thakan stood up. "What events have you recorded?" he asked. There was curiosity in his voice now, but also suspicion. Colonel Yuna answered. "Everything," she said simply. "Every major conflict in human history. Every war, every battle, every moment of violence that shaped our species. 10,000 years of warfare, all contained in this single crystal. Your wars," Thakan said, and there was that mocking tone again. "The ones we have already reviewed. The small conflicts between your primitive nations. Forgive me, Colonel, but we have seen your history. It is not impressive." Yuna's face remained expressionless. "You have seen the data," she said. "Numbers and dates and casualty counts. But data does not tell the whole story. The Council has judged humanity based on statistics. We offer you the chance to judge us based on truth." Vexthar was quiet for a long moment. Jiho could not read the alien's crystalline face, but he sensed uncertainty there. Finally, the Chancellor spoke. "Very well," he said. "I will interface with your device. We will view these memories of yours. And then we will place your gift in the archives and you will leave." "As you wish," Jiho said. He nodded to Minho. The scientist moved forward with careful steps. He placed his hands on the containment field controls. "Chancellor," he said, "before we begin, I must warn you. The neural interface is intense. The memories will feel completely real. If at any point you wish to disconnect, simply pull your consciousness back. The crystal will release you immediately." "I have experienced neural interfaces before," Vexthar said. "I am not afraid of human memories." Minho said nothing more. He simply opened the containment field and activated the crystal. It began to glow with a soft light. Then the light grew stronger. It changed from white to red, the deep crimson color of blood. Vexthar reached out with his consciousness and touched the crystal. The connection was instant. The chamber fell silent. Everyone watched the Chancellor, waiting to see what would happen. At first, nothing seemed wrong. Vexthar stood perfectly still, his crystalline body glowing as it always did. Then he began to shake. It started small. Just a tremor running through his structure. But it grew quickly. Within seconds, the Chancellor was shaking violently. The light inside his body flickered and flashed. Strange colors appeared in the crystal, colors that should not have been possible. Some council members started to rise from their seats. They looked worried now. A few called out, asking if Vexthar was all right. But the Chancellor did not respond. He was trapped inside the crystal's memories, living through events that happened thousands of years ago on a planet far from here. Jiho watched without expression. He knew what Vexthar was seeing. He knew because he had tested the crystal himself. He had felt the mud and blood of ancient battlefields. He had heard the screams of dying soldiers. He had experienced the terror and fury and desperate courage of men fighting for their lives against impossible odds. Hana stood near the back of the chamber. She looked frightened. "Should we stop it?" she whispered to Jiho. "No," Jiho said quietly. "He needs to see." They all need to see. Minutes passed. They felt like hours. Vexthar continued to shake. His light continued to flicker. And still the crystal held him, pouring its memories into his ancient consciousness. Finally, after what might have been 5 minutes or 50, Minho spoke up. "Chancellor," he said, his voice cutting through the worried murmurs of the council. "The crystal is only 12% complete. You are still in the ancient era of human warfare. There is much more to see. But if you wish to disconnect, you may do so now." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like shattering glass, Vexthar pulled himself free of the crystal. He stumbled backward, which was something Jiho had never seen a council member do. The Chancellor collapsed into his seat, his light dim and flickering. The chamber erupted in noise. Dozens of council members were all speaking at once, demanding to know what happened, asking if Vexithar was harmed, questioning what the humans had done. But Jiho was watching the Chancellor, and he saw something there that pleased him greatly. He saw fear. Vexithar raised one crystalline hand. The gesture called for silence, and slowly the chamber quieted. When the Chancellor spoke, his voice was different than before. The mockery was gone. The casual superiority was gone. Now he just sounded tired and shaken. "What?" he began, then stopped. He seemed to be struggling to find words. "What did you show me?" "The truth," Colonel Yuna said. "The Battle of Thermopylae, where 300 Spartan warriors held a mountain pass against an army of hundreds of thousands. The Mongol conquests, where mounted archers conquered more territory in 50 years than most galactic empires manage in 1,000. The trenches of World War I, where millions of men died fighting over strips of land only a few miles wide. And that was only 12%? Vexithar asked. Minho nodded. The crystal contains records from more than 5,000 years of major conflicts. You experienced approximately 50 years of the earliest warfare in our history. The conflicts grow larger and more intense as human technology advances. A being made of purple energy floated forward. This was Ambassador Kess of the Peaceful Collective. "How is this possible?" Kess asked. "We reviewed your historical records. We saw the casualty numbers. Your wars killed millions, not billions. By galactic standards, they were minor skirmishes." "They were minor by galactic standards," Jiho agreed. "But they were not minor to us. Every one of those millions was a person. Every death was a tragedy. Every battle was a test of survival. And we fought not against alien invaders or natural disasters. We fought against ourselves." That last sentence seemed to hit the council like a physical blow. Jiho could see understanding beginning to dawn on their faces, or at least on the faces of those species that had faces. War Premier Thakan was standing now. His 6 arms were crossed, and his posture was different than before. Less aggressive, more thoughtful. "You fought only each other?" he asked. "Always," Yuna said. "Humanity has never encountered another intelligent species until we reached the stars. Every weapon we developed was designed to kill other humans. Every strategy was created to defeat human armies. Every soldier who died fell in a conflict against their own kind." The chamber was absolutely silent now. The crystal continued to pulse with its red light, waiting for the next person to interface with it. And slowly, very slowly, the council members began to understand what they were really looking at. This was not the history of a peaceful species. This was the history of a species that had turned all its violence inward and somehow survived. The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a sound like distant thunder. Ambassador Jiho walked through them with his head held high, even though his heart was beating fast. He had practiced this moment 1,000 times, but nothing could prepare him for the reality of standing before the most powerful beings in the known galaxy. The chamber was enormous. It stretched up so high that Jiho could barely see the ceiling. Thousands of seats formed a circle around the central floor, and in those seats sat representatives from hundreds of alien species. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that Jiho's mind struggled to understand what he was seeing. There were beings made of light, creatures that floated in tanks of colored gas, and things that seemed to exist in more dimensions than he could count. Jiho walked to the center of the floor. His footsteps echoed in the silence. Behind him, his assistant Hana carried a datapad with Earth's formal application for council membership. She looked calm, but Jiho knew her well enough to see the nervous tension in her shoulders. Chancellor Vexithar rose from his seat. He was 12 feet tall and made entirely of a crystal-like substance that glowed with soft blue light. His voice, when he spoke, sounded like wind chimes mixed with the rumble of an earthquake. "Ambassador Jiho of Earth," Vexithar said, "you have requested admission to the Council of Advanced Civilizations. We have reviewed your application. We have studied your planet's history and culture. We have examined your technology and your social development." Jiho felt a moment of hope. Maybe this would be easier than he thought. "And we have found," Vexithar continued, "that your species is simply not qualified for membership at this time." The hope died. Around the chamber, Jiho heard sounds that might have been laughter. It was hard to tell with alien species, but the meaning was clear. They were mocking him. Perhaps in another 1,000 years, Vexthar said, and now there was definitely amusement in his voice. When you have matured as a species. A large creature with 6 arms and red armor stood up. This was War Premier Thakan of the Crimson Pact. His species had conquered a quarter of the galaxy through military might. His voice was deep and rough like rocks grinding together. I have examined the human military history, Thakan said. It is laughable. Their longest war lasted barely 30 years. Their largest battles involved millions of soldiers, not billions. They have never fought a conflict that consumed an entire solar system. They have never deployed weapons that could crack a planet in half. More laughter rippled through the chamber. Jiho felt his face grow hot with shame, but he kept his expression neutral. A holographic display appeared in the air above Jiho's head. It showed Earth's timeline with all of humanity's major conflicts marked in red. There was World War I, World War II. Dozens of smaller wars scattered across centuries. To the Galactic Council it must have looked like nothing. Just small fights between primitive tribes. Another being spoke up. This one looked like a floating jellyfish made of purple energy. The humans are a garden world species, it said in a voice like singing bells. They evolved on a planet with no serious predators. They never faced extinction-level threats. They have known peace and prosperity for most of their existence. They are not warriors. They are not survivors. They are children playing at being adults. Jiho clenched his fists at his sides, but he did not speak. Not yet. He had known this might happen. Earth's leadership had warned him that the Council might reject them. But hearing it, standing here while these ancient species laughed at humanity's entire history, was harder than he had imagined. Vexthar gestured, and the holographic display changed. Now it showed comparative statistics. Human casualties from all wars in recorded history barely registered on the scale compared to galactic conflicts. Earth's most powerful nuclear weapons were toys compared to stellar converters and reality bombs. Humanity's fastest ships were slower than the courier vessels that carried mail between council worlds. You have achieved interstellar flight, Vexthar said, and his tone was almost kind now. That is commendable, but that alone does not make you ready for council membership. You must prove that you can contribute something of value. You must show that you have wisdom earned through hardship. You must demonstrate that you understand the true costs and stakes of galactic civilization. The Khan spoke again. In my culture, we have a saying. A blade that has never been tested in combat is just decorated metal. Your species has never been tested. You have never fought for survival against a true threat. Your entire military history would not qualify as a single campaign season in any real war. You have produced merchants and artists and philosophers. These things have their place. But you have not produced warriors. You have not earned your place at this table, Jiho wanted to argue. He wanted to tell them they were wrong. But he knew that angry words would accomplish nothing. Instead, he took a deep breath and nodded slowly. I understand the council's decision, he said. His voice was steady and clear. We are disappointed, of course, but we respect your judgment. Vexthar seemed surprised by this. Perhaps he had expected Jiho to argue or beg. However, Jiho continued, I would like to request one small thing. It is traditional for rejected applicants to be allowed to present a gift for the council's archives. A piece of our culture, so that we are remembered even if we are not members. Would the council allow this? Vexthar looked around at the other council members. There was a moment of silent communication that Jiho could not follow. Then the chancellor nodded. This is acceptable, Vexthar said. You may present your gift at the next session in 3 weeks. But understand that this is merely a formality. It will not change our decision. Of course, Jiho said. We ask for nothing more than to be remembered. The massive doors opened again. The meeting was over. Jiho turned and walked out with Hana following close behind. The doors closed behind them with a boom that sounded like finality. Outside in the corridor, Hana finally let her professional mask slip. That was worse than we feared, she said quietly. Jiho smiled, and there was something sharp in that smile. Was it? We got exactly what we wanted. Hana looked confused. We were rejected and humiliated. Yes, Jiho agreed. And in 3 weeks we will return. And we will show them something they are not expecting. Send a message to Dr. Minho and Colonel Yuna. Tell them to prepare the artifact for transport. And tell them to triple-check the neural interface protocols. We only get one chance at this. You really think this will work? Hana asked. Jiho's smile grew wider. They think we are children who have never known real war. They think our history is peaceful and simple. They have made assumptions based on incomplete data. In 3 weeks, we will correct those assumptions, and then we will see who is laughing. They walked down the long corridor toward their ship. Above them, through the transparent ceiling, Jiho could see Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel. It looked so peaceful from here, so calm and beautiful. The Council had no idea what that peaceful-looking planet had survived, but they would learn soon enough. The day of the vote arrived. Jiho stood once again in the Council chamber, but this time the atmosphere was completely different. 3 weeks ago, the aliens had looked at him with amusement and contempt. Now they looked at him with something else. Respect, perhaps, or maybe caution. It was hard to tell. Chancellor Vexthar's crystalline form glowed brighter than usual as he called the session to order. We have spent one cycle reviewing the information presented by the human delegation. We have debated long into the night, each night. We have examined their history from every angle. And now we must vote. Jiho felt his heart beating fast, but he kept his face calm. Beside him, Hana was gripping her datapad so tightly her knuckles were white. Colonel Yuna stood at attention, perfectly still. Only Dr. Minho looked relaxed, but Jiho suspected that was just his usual tired expression. Before we vote, Vexthar continued, several council members have requested the opportunity to speak. We will hear from them now. War Premier Thakan was the first to stand. His 6 arms were relaxed at his sides, but his voice carried the weight of authority. I have fought in wars across 3 galaxies. I have commanded armies that numbered in the billions. I have seen civilizations rise and fall, and I tell you now that I have never encountered a species like humanity. He paused, and Jiho could not tell if that was a good thing or a bad thing. The Crimson Pact respects strength, the Khan continued. We value warriors and military prowess. When I first reviewed humanity's history, I saw weakness, small conflicts, limited casualties, primitive weapons. But the crystal showed me the truth. Humanity's conflicts were not small. They were concentrated, intense, brutal in ways that my species has never experienced. He looked directly at Jiho. The Crimson Pact fights external enemies. We conquer territory and resources. But humans fight themselves. They wage war against their own kind over ideas and beliefs. That requires a different kind of strength. A harder kind. The Khan sat down. Jiho allowed himself a small breath of relief. That had sounded like support, though it was hard to be certain. Ambassador Suji floated forward next. The peaceful collective has a different perspective. We do not understand warfare. We cannot comprehend why anyone would choose violence. For millions of years, we have struggled to find common ground with warrior species on this council. Her purple energy pulsed slowly as she spoke. But humanity has shown us something new. They are not pure warriors like the Crimson Pact. They are not pure pacifists like us. They are both. They understand violence intimately, but they also understand peace. They have experienced both extremes and learned from both. She turned to address the entire council. I believe humanity can serve as a bridge. They can speak to warrior cultures in the language of war, but they can also speak to peaceful cultures in the language of understanding. The galaxy needs such a bridge. The peaceful collective will vote in favor of admission. Jiho felt hope rising in his chest. 2 of the most influential council members seemed to support humanity. But he knew there would be opposition as well. A being made of what looked like living metal stood up. This was Fabricator Zin of the Silicon Confederacy. I must voice my concerns, Zin said in a voice like grinding gears. The human crystal revealed something troubling. Humanity has developed theoretical weapons of extreme destructive power, biological agents, nanotechnology, artificial intelligence systems designed for warfare. They have imagined ways to destroy entire species. There were murmurs of agreement from some parts of the chamber. It is true they have not built most of these weapons, Zin continued, but they have the knowledge. What prevents them from using this knowledge in the future? What prevents them from becoming a threat to the galaxy? Diplomat Rel stood up next. I share these concerns. The Trade Federation values stability and predictability. Humanity is neither stable nor predictable. They are young, aggressive, and unpredictable. Granting them council membership gives them access to advanced technology and resources. What will they do with that access? Jiho knew this was his moment to respond. He stepped forward and Vexthar nodded permission for him to speak. The concerns raised are valid, Jiho began. Humanity does have the knowledge to create terrible weapons. We do have a history of violence. These things are true and we do not deny them. He paused, choosing his words carefully. But knowledge is not the same as intent. We have known how to build biological weapons for over a century. We have known how to create nuclear arsenals capable of destroying our planet for 70 years. And yet Earth still exists. Our cities still stand. Our people still live. He walked slowly as he spoke, making eye contact with different council members. You ask what prevents us from using this knowledge. The answer is simple: we prevent ourselves. Every human learns our history. We teach our children about the wars we fought and the prices we paid. We remember the horror of the atomic bombs. We remember the trenches of World War I. We remember all of it, so that we never forget what war truly costs. Memory alone is not a guarantee, Ral objected. No, Jiho agreed, but it is a foundation. We do not claim to be perfect. We do not claim that we will never make mistakes. But we do claim that we have learned from our past. We have demonstrated restraint when it would have been easier to unleash destruction. That should count for something. Colonel Yuna spoke up. If I may add something, the Council has species that have fought for conquest, species that have waged wars of extermination, species that have destroyed entire civilizations, and yet these species are members of the Council. Why? Because you have learned to channel your nature toward constructive purposes. She looked around the chamber. Humanity is no different. We have a capacity for violence, yes, but we also have a capacity for cooperation, for innovation, for growth. We are not asking you to ignore our violent history. We are asking you to see it as proof that we can overcome our worst instincts. Chancellor Vexthar raised a hand for silence. The arguments have been heard. It is time to vote. Each council member will cast their vote now. A simple majority is required for admission. The chamber fell silent. Jiho watched as lights began to appear above each council member's seat. Green for yes, red for no. The lights appeared slowly at first, then faster as members made their decisions. Green. Red. Green. Green. Red. Red. Green. Jiho tried to count, but there were too many votes coming too fast. He could not tell which way it was going. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. Finally, the last vote was cast. The lights stopped appearing. A holographic display showed the final count. There was a moment of absolute silence. Then Vexthar spoke. By a vote of 612 in favor and 470 against, with 18 abstentions, the Council has decided to grant humanity provisional membership. Jiho felt his knees go weak. Provisional membership was not full membership, but it was more than he had dared to hope for. It meant humanity would have a voice in the Council. It meant they would have access to galactic resources and technology. It meant they were no longer alone in the universe. Provisional membership, Vexthar continued, will last for 50 Earth years. During that time, humanity will be monitored closely. You will have access to Council resources, but with restrictions. You will have a vote on Council matters, but it will count as half a vote rather than a full vote. At the end of 50 years, the Council will vote again to determine if humanity should receive full membership. Jiho bowed deeply. The people of Earth thank the Council for this opportunity. We will prove ourselves worthy of your trust. I hope you will, Vexthar said, because the galaxy is watching now. You have shown us that humanity is capable of great violence. Now you must show us that you are capable of great wisdom as well. The session was adjourned. As the Council members began to leave, several of them approached the human delegation. Some congratulated them. Others warned them to be careful. A few simply stared, as if trying to understand what they had just agreed to. War Premier Thakan stopped in front of Jiho. You have earned your place here, he said. But understand that this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast and dangerous. There are threats out there that make your human wars look like children's games. You will need all of your strength and all of your wisdom to survive. We understand, Jiho said. I hope you do, Thakan replied, because I voted in favor of your admission. I believe humanity can be valuable allies, but if you prove me wrong, if you become a threat to the galaxy, I will be the first to call for your removal. Remember that. He walked away, leaving Jiho to process that mixed message. Ambassador Suji approached next. Congratulations, she said warmly. The Peaceful Collective is pleased to welcome you. We believe you will do great things. Thank you, Jiho said sincerely. Your support meant a great deal. As the chamber emptied, the human delegation finally allowed themselves to relax. Hana actually laughed, a sound of pure relief. "We did it," she said. "We actually did it, we did," Jiho agreed. But the Khan was right. "This is only the beginning. Now the real work starts." Colonel Yuna smiled slightly. "At least they understand us now. They know what we are capable of. They know our history." "Yes," Dr. Minho said quietly. "They know what we have been. Now we must show them what we can become." They left the council chamber and wall.